For example, and I got this from my late friend Christopher Hitchens. Is it sensible to assume that humans evolved in their present form somewhere between 250,000 to 1 million years ago? So you have a God who creates a universe and has 4.5 billion years of life evolving, and then Homo sapiens evolve and live in incredibly awful conditions for 250,000 years, and suddenly, in the middle of the desert, in a cave where no one can see it, he takes some poor schmo and says, I'm going to tell you the truth. And not only that, I'm going to allow you to save humanity. And in fact, if people don't believe you, they're going to go to hell for eternity. And we can talk in great length, in great sadomasochistic length, about the torture they're going to have, and we can all enjoy it. Now, what about all those poor 250,000 years of people, of real people who were struggling to exist and survive, those poor people who were existing before that God decided to give his revelation to Muhammad? Why that? Why would a sensible God wait that long? And of course, the interesting question you have to ask is, why are the revelations always done when no one can see them? If you're asking a court of law, you'd say, well, you know what? It just doesn't make sense. Why don't once it doesn't call down from the sky so everyone can hear them? Why is it always given to people in private who then claim they've had a revelation?
Again, another huge straw man. You've misrepresented Islamic theology. We have a very nuanced theology, sir. I think the best thing to do, if you were sincere, you would have said, you know, Hamza, I don't get this. I haven't read this before. I'm just making my own mind up because I watch videos of Christopher Hitchens and he's an authority to me. I don't know much. Can you tell me what Islam says about this issue? That would have been better, wouldn't it? But again, it's a straw man. And when it comes to things like hell, we believe God is all just and all merciful, okay? No one disagrees with the concept of punishment, okay? You're not going to disagree with the concept of punishment, are you? So when it comes to people who haven't heard about Islam, there's a whole array of theologians like Ibn Taymiyyah and Al-Ghazali who said that there's going to be another form of justice for them. They may be tested on the Day of Judgment based on other prophetic traditions. It's not as simple as that. Okay. No, there's a difference. Don't straw man my positions.
Okay, let me take a more clear example.
You're straw manning my positions.
Say you're a homosexual man.
Yes.
And you have sex with another homosexual man. Should that be subject to punishment?
In the private home, it's outside of the Sharia law. If they did it in public, which doesn't even happen where you're from, then there's a different story.
What would
Okay, let me ask Professor Krauss a question. Why is incest wrong?
It's not clear to me that it's wrong.
Okay.
It's clear to me. There's an evidence.
So, see, this is precisely the point I'm trying to make, Professor Krauss, is that I find it quite interesting. Someone who adopts an atheist position would have strong moral judgments about a religious tradition, whereas your moral judgments, at best, are relative and subjective. Now, when you look about moral theory, from an Islamic perspective, in a religious perspective, you see that objective morals, like even pointing the finger and saying, you know, you're wrong, you're nonsense, Sharia law is backward, these kind of strong emotive things, I think we can only be that emotive and strong in an objective sense if you have God as a grounding for your objective moral values. Because if you take God out of the picture, he's the only concept that transcends human subjectivity. Social pressure, you know that doesn't work. Look what happened in Nazi Germany. You know, for example, evolution makes it end up being ephemeral and empty. If you look at the philosopher of science, Michael Rules, he said, you think loving thy neighbor as thyself is like you're referring above and beyond yourself. But essentially, it has no true meaning. It's just a product of survival and reproduction. So from this perspective, you don't have an ontological grounding for objective moral truths. The best you could do, what a lot of atheists have done, is, well, we believe in moral realism, which is moral truths are just moral truths because they are. Well, Islam just is, and the Prophet Muhammad upon whom peace just is, and the Quran just is. That's not an argument. So the reason I asked you that question, sir, was to say, how on earth, from an intellectual perspective, can we point the finger at religions from a moral perspective? And especially today's been, the irony is, most of your articulation against Islam has had a moral vibe to it, not a rational one, because you didn't deal with the premises of my argument.
I did. A bag like some of the people back there.
Well, it's not really a bag.
No, it is.
Yeah?
As far as I'm concerned, it is.
Okay, look, that's a different question. I'm not going to get into the moral judgments of certain traditions, because at the end of the day,
And,
we've already...
and by the way, they're all only Islamic. I mean, if you want me to offend other religions, I'm happy.
No,
to
I'm
do
not
it.
saying that,
Okay.
Krauss, but someone who is rationalizing incest doesn't have no more high ground to point the finger at Muslim women. I mean, and the other point, say, Professor Krauss, is that, you know, these pointing the finger at other traditions, where is your ontological basis for an objective moral value like this?
Well, you know, in fact...
Is it objectively wrong that she's wearing a bag?
What?
Is it objectively morally wrong? And how is it
I
objectively
didn't never say
morally
it was
wrong?
wrong. I asked if it's sensible.
Okay, is it sensible?
Okay, and so my question to you is, it seems to me that given the fact that I happen to view women and men as, you know, we have differences, inherent genetic differences.
Of course, yes.
But in every other sense, we're equal human beings. And in fact, in many senses, as you know, there are advantages and disadvantages.
We don't disagree with that.
So I do not see any reason to treat women differently than men. It doesn't make sense to me. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, fair enough. Good.
Okay.
So the point is, when we make moral judgments, I know you use the word sensible, but other times we're making moral judgments.
I don't talk, unlike you, I don't talk about morals, because I try, in this sense, the question before us was not, is atheism moral, or is Islam moral? It's, is it sensible? And when people act...
So why have you
non-sensibly-
spent 25 minutes pointing the finger and making moral judgments rather
didn't ever
than
say-
trying to deal with my argument?
It will lead to a discussion. What does offend me, of course, is offending personal freedom and equal rights, and that's one of the reasons why I got upset at the beginning of this session. But that's been fixed, and I thank the organizers for that as well, to agreeing to not segregate this room in a 21st century is a great step forward, and I appreciate that. No, I mean, it just seems so petty. So why should we believe in a hateful, unmerciful, petty, sadomasochistic, homophobic, sexist God? Of physical reality. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, of course you do.
So
According to
physical
physics.
reality can allow for infinity.
According to what I learned a lot from your book, actually. It was quite interesting. You said, even in your book, I think it was page 81, you said that essentially, you know, there's the maths, and I need to improve my physics to ensure it's in line with the math. And interestingly...
No, I need to improve my math to ensure it's in line with reality.
Okay, good. So
Okay?
what is...
the evidence of experiment?
Yes, good.
So if my math doesn't agree with the evidence of experiment, then I change my math.
And that's why I think, and I don't want to build a straw man, you made a conclusion in your book, you said, this is why you can't have an infinite anything.
No.
You said that in
You
your
show
book.
me where I can't have an infinite anything.
Yeah,
Did I talk about
give me the
infinite
book.
energy density?
Let
Did
me
I talk
find...
about whether the universe might be infinite?
Let me find it for you.
And by the way, if I did, I was wrong. I mean,
One second.
That to me,
No,
to me-
that's
to
honorable.
me-
That is honorable.
No, that to me is the worst kind. That's
That's
what I find
honorable. No, that is
so
honorable. I
personally
admit.
offensive about these arguments is you quote people as if what they say matters. But the great thing about science is there are no authorities.
I agree.
There are no scientific authorities. Everyone can be wrong, and we all are.
That is
including-
honorable. That is
including
honorable.
the
I have
people
to-
who claim to be, including Benedict before he stopped being Pope.
Yeah, 1 second. 1 second. Just bear with me. He wanted it here somewhere.
No, I'm enjoying
Yeah,
it.
please. No, this is good. This is good. Okay, so here we go. Infinity is not a pleasant quantity, however, at least as far as physicists are concerned, and we try to avoid it whenever possible.
Whenever
Clearly, the energy of empty space, or anything else for that matter, cannot be physically
The
infinite.
energy of anything.
No. You said,
I'm sorry.
or anything else for that matter.
The energy of anything cannot be physically infinite.
Where's that there?
The energy of empty space or the energy of anything else.
You're reading another book now.
I wrote the... Well, Mohammed may not be here to talk about the Quran, but I'm here to talk about my book.
And you don't even know your own book.
And my book...
Okay, my first question is to Professor Krauss, and this is just to sort out the sort of the whole thing we were talking about. I just opened up your page and it says, nothing is something. There you go.
That's the title of a chapter.
That's the title of a chapter. Nothing is something, right?
And you know what I meant?
No, and I'm going to ask my second question now.
Okay.
Your whole book is based on mathematics, and mathematics, as you know, is based on deduction.
No, it's based on evidence.
Okay, and you use mathematics throughout your book, and you say deductive.
Show me the equations in my book. Show me the equations. Are there equations?
Yes, they are.
Well, there are one or two. The book's 200 pages long.
Okay, let me just ask my question. My first question was, you said nothing is something as soon as you open the book.
Yeah.
Secondly, you said deductive method, deduction doesn't work, and maths is based upon deduction.
No, I said it may not work.
No, you said it in the opening. Deduction doesn't work.
I want to say, however, I want to clear up some misconceptions. This idea of deductive arguments, which sounds good, is not the way we learn about reality. Okay? Deductive arguments just don't work. They lead to irrational actions.
And your book is full of mathematics and deduction. Mathematics is based upon deduction. So how do you... it's actually a good introduction to logical fallacies.
Ooh.
Have 2 minutes. I'll continue that in the Q&A, okay? So, also you're saying about that, look, if the universe began, and we could show that maybe empirically or deductively. My focus is on the deduction here. And I don't think you really address from the infinite perspective when we said that this is based on axioms and conventions in the mathematical realm of discourse, but in discrete physical parts, as you've admitted in your book, that can't happen. So we have a deductive argument the universe began, which means it once wasn't there. Ontologically, if there wasn't a cause for that, you wouldn't have the universe in the first place. The second point I like to make.
No, there's you see the photon that's lighting you up from that thing?
Yes.
It didn't exist before it was emitted by the electron.
Yes.
Okay? It didn't exist.
Yes.
It wasn't there.
And you're saying there's no cause?
It wasn't, point is, yeah, I'm saying this. What I'm saying is,